blogger. I'm Hindol Sengupta. I'm delighted that Lieutenant General Shokin Chauhan has joined me. I asked the general to join in conversation after I read this very interesting Substack article he wrote on the Siliguri Corridor. Now, people listening and watching this program and indeed this channel would remember that the Siliguri Corridor is often in the news. The Siliguri Corridor is that thin strip of land connecting India with northeast of India. And consistently, it appears in conversation. There are Islamists who threaten to cut it off from the rest of India. In Bangladesh, constantly we have heard voices which have said this. There are a lot of conversation about the Siliguri Corridor. Now, the general argues in this very detailed piece that in fact, India must not fear the loss of the Siliguri Corridor, that terrain, that topography is far more dynamic, far more diverse, and far more difficult to, in a sense, cut off or take over so easily as the popular rhetoric suggests. I will ask the general now to comment on it, but it's a very interesting read. We're going to put the link of the Substack along with this video in the description so that everyone can read it too. Thank you. Thanks very much, General, for joining me.
Thank you, Professor Sengupta. Yes, sir.
Begin by requesting you to talk about how you see the Siliguri Corridor, and you seem very contrarian position. Most people in popular imagination talk about it as a fragility. You say it actually isn't.
Professor Sengupta, firstly, let me convey my gratitude for calling me on the show. Indeed, my gratitude in reading my articles. I write specifically to be read, as I think everybody does. So being read and being commented upon is indeed a great honor. Thank you so much for that. The issue about the Siliguri Corridor is actually it's an important factor. We talk about it being India's Achilles heel. It's not. You just have to look at the land, and you look at what all is north of it, what is south of it, what is west of it, what is east of it, what is northwest of it. So let me just cover that part. Immediately north is, of the Siliguri Corridor is Sikkim. It's an Indian state. It's a state of India. Further upwards to the slightly south, south of it is Nepal. Not Nepal. It's our country again. On the north, complete north is the Chumbi Valley, and then the northeast is Bhutan, and east to a percentage is Bangladesh, and of course west is you have Nepal, and of course you have the North Bengal area. So when you talk of these 22 kilometers, you're talking of an area which is actually those 22 kilometers at its narrowest in this area. It goes up to 26, it goes up to 28, in some places even 30. But more importantly, we are taking the gap between Nepal and Bangladesh to be 22 kilometers, and we said this is India's Achilles heel. But it's not an island. There's land on in the west, right? Nepal's a friendly country. And my contention always has been that when you are looking at a friendly country, you're also looking at strategic corridors available to you inside that country. So at a critical juncture, supposing, everything else goes wrong and the Siliguri Corridor is cut off, there is no question that we would not get this ability to go through Nepal and to connect to the northeast. That's the first issue. The second is our fragility here, and everyone's talking of now Bangladesh, and Bangladesh trying to tell us that actually Bangladesh helps us connect to our northeast, which is untrue. Bangladesh is just one country which was actually relationship with it. The Bangladesh army and the Indian army are very close and have been very close from the very beginning. We have a sizable population of Bangladesh that does not think of India as an enemy. And whatever the government in power, finally, Bangladesh and India are meant to be together. Bangladesh used to be East Bengal in the days before partition. It's such a mix in Bengal when you talk to, and you're a Bengali yourself. The Bangladesh, the East Bengalis and the North and the West Bengalis were not enemies. People are very close to each other, and we are not enemies. We've never been enemies, right? And just because a political dispensation changes doesn't mean that Bangladesh becomes an enemy of India. Political political leaders by nature tend to say anything, and since they're not held responsible for what they say, uh, nobody should actually take them seriously. That's the important thing. So on one side, on the west is Nepal, which is a friendly country, and this corridor cannot be cut off because Nepal is a friendly country, and we can always have access through Nepal. That's the first aspect. Second aspect is on the east is Bangladesh, which is friendly, which is close culturally. And political situations may change, but Bangladesh will never be our enemy. In the north is Sikkim. We have the Chumbi Valley. Chumbi Valley is may give the Dokulam Plateau if ever China, if ever, I don't think that's possible, but if ever China does think that they can take it and say they do in the worst case situation, bringing troops across the Doklam Plateau is an impossibility. So logistically, it is not possible for the PLA or the Chinese troops to cross the Doklam Plateau and come downwards to take the Siliguri Corridor. You have Bhutan further on the north and east, and that's also an extremely very very friendly country. So, and it's in the North Bengal area. The people around culturally, this area is close to the Rajbanshis are there, the Bengalis are there, the Nepalis are there. Darjeeling district is on one side. So in every way, Professor Sengupta, when you look at a place geographically, you do not find that it is vulnerable in any manner. Uh, that's the first thing. Geographically, it doesn't say it's vulnerable. Historically, like I said, historically and culturally, it is undivided India. East and West Bengal were undivided till partition came and divided us. But subsequently, Bangladesh was created, and we've been extremely close to Bangladesh in every way. They can be inflamed. It's going through a crisis now because of the elections that are likely to be held soon. But that doesn't matter. Doesn't take away from the relationship that we share with the people of Bangladesh. The third issue is historically, there has never been a situation of a problem in the Siliguri corridor. The only issue, and I've talked about it in my article, was that the village Naxalbari, from where Naxalite, the Naxalite movement actually took birth, Charu Mazumdar was from Naxalbari, started a movement against the governance of the people. It had nothing to do with the with India, or had nothing to do with the Republic of India or creating problems within the Republic of India. So even that place, I don't think it's a problem. So these are the issues why I said that look, it's not a problem, it's not a situation. We need to be careful. We need to look at all parts, all aspects. We need to look up the population, to look at the culture. We need to look at every issue. But the idea is that we are not vulnerable here.
You also make the point about terrain. I get the point about history. I get the point about other aspects of this of this location, this locality, its vitality, of course, our neighbor. One of the interesting things about your article is also your depiction of the terrain. You talk about how this terrain could be treacherous for anybody wishing to commit a misadventure there. Talk to me a little bit about that too.
Yeah, so when you do a terrain analysis, Professor Sengupta, you take three aspects. What the ground first, when you're looking at the ground, what does the ground tell you? The first thing that the ground tells you right in front is that it's not it almost impossible. Like I said when I was telling you, for any troops to come in from the north, the area is extremely difficult. Firstly, PLA troops are the only one that can come in from the Chumbi Valley. For them to logistically climb the Chumbi Valley, come on to the Doklam Plateau, then move downwards into the plains of Bengal. It's getting troops, getting logistics, getting warlike. This is not possible. It's very difficult. For Bangladesh, which has been recently, their leaders have been talking nonsense about the criticality or the fragility of this corridor. The rivers in Bangladesh that crisscross the Bangladesh area of the Siliguri Corridor, do not at any point convey the capability of large forces coming through that. There are just too many rivers. Bangladesh, as you know, is always has a problem of arable land, a problem of movement of armor, it has a problem of roads, it has a problem of so many other issues. But it is almost impossible for Bangladesh to move large forces through that area. Strategically, it's not possible. Nepal is a friendly country, but at the same time, the Nepalese army have at no stage ever conveyed that they are willing to come uh, east and cross the Mechi River in any adverse movement towards the Indian army. Bhutan, there is no question. It'll be just a very close country to us, but even there, the the slopes might soften between Bhutan and us, but the instability increases. The valleys might widen, but the rivers intervene. So they don't allow this movement to happen. Geography is against any kind of large forces, military forces from crossing this place. This is actually transition terrain where the altitude will drain endurance and the gravity will accelerate the water and create debris downhill. Uh, in every way, the terrain is our friend here, and in every way, the corridor itself is not vulnerable to large military forces moving in this area. Yes, fifth columnists, forces, terrorists can create very minor problems here. They can have bomb blasts, they can, cut a couple of railway lines, but that doesn't mean that we don't have the capability to immediately fix these issues. Uh, as far as the Indian Army is concerned, we have the headquarters 33 Corps, which is in, in Sevak Road, which is next to the Siliguri Corridor, which looks after the Siliguri Corridor, which also looks after Sikkim, and then the watershed. And it is very well poised. Our forces are very well poised to prevent any kind of misadventure. So these are the reasons why, Dr. Sengupta, I I talk of this because the Tosa River, the Jaldaka River, the Sankosh River do not allow Bangladesh to bring in any kind of troops in this area. So Bangladesh is not possible. The Doklam Plateau is not possible. The Chumbi Valley is not possible. Nepal is not possible. South is not possible. West is not possible. I don't see the problem, to tell you the truth.
I think this is very, very reassuring for many, many people in India who keep hearing this propaganda, these statements again and again. I want to move to the next part of our conversation now, General, to talk a little bit about many people were fascinated in the Republic Day parade to see the introduction of something called the Bhairav Battalion. Now, many things about the Bhairav Battalion seem very interesting to me, and I want you to talk about them. One is it seemed that this is, in a sense, a future-ready force. This is, soldiers who work in the terrain that they know best. They are from the regions where, they work in the regions from where they belong. They know the terrain well. They can work very quickly. Their response time is very swift. And also, I read that most of these people were taken from, in a sense, the ST community, these are trained soldiers at the very cutting edge of our defense forces. And in a sense, they are, as I said, they are future ready for any, future conflict that India could have, which required very rapid response. Talk to me a little bit about how you see this battalion.
Dr. Sengupta, the Bhairav Battalion is not a home and hearth battalion. It is not like the what that we created from the territorial army, the home and hearth battalion that we used in Sikkim or we used in Kashmir. Uh, they are not they're not in any way belong to any particular caste, tribe, or nothing like that. Uh, when we wanted troops to operate in their home areas, we created what we call the scouts. Those scouts belong to the 11 Gurkhas, the Sikkim scouts. The scouts belong to the Garhwal scouts that is operating in the Garhwal region. The central region where we are dealing with the line of control with the not line of actual control or the border with China or Tibet. Uh, we have the Naga scouts, we have the Kumaon scouts, all dealing with the high altitude areas who are permanently located there and who are located there to deal with these defense issues and to deal and operate in areas where they know the terrain very well and they do not move like the rest of the infantry battalions do. Now, why were there Bhairav battalions? Why did we create these Bhairav battalions? That's the issue. Firstly, the size of the Bhairav battalion. It's about one third the size of an infantry unit. If an infantry unit is at around 800 troops, the Bhairav battalion is between 250 to 300. Bhairav battalions will come from a particular regiment. So each regiment would contribute these troops to operate, and they are likely to operate as one Bhairav battalion within a corps. It gives the corps commander an immediately tactically ready force to commit into battle the soonest possible.
It is not
It
just
is
from the Sikh regiment. It is not just from the Sikh regiment.
It is also a link between the regular infantry and the special forces. So it's that middle link where you commit the Bhairav battalion into action while the rest of the infantry gets ready to move, or rest of the forces get ready to move, or the main forces come through. So the immediate response is the Bhairav battalion.
So you
It
say
is
there will
not
be a Bhairav battalion with every regiment, right? It's not just from the Sikh regiment.
No. There'll be a Bhairav battalion finally with every regiment, and it is meant to be a battalion in one Bhairav battalion in each corps. So 17, 18 corps. So it's a Bhairav battalion there, right? So that's how we have planned the Bhairav battalion. These are not scouts. They don't belong to any particular caste or creed or anything that you might have heard. They are not home and hearth. They are with the highest tactical formation headquarters in the field. And they're an interesting mix of equipment, trained soldiers, and soldiers capable of dealing with all kinds of threats, whether it is the cyber threat, whether it is the kinetic threat. They can deal with all the threats. The Bhairav battalion would have drones with them, would have other equipment with them that would help them deal with these issues immediately.
I read someone talk about how, in a sense, they are like a mini unified command. Would you say that's the correct way of, maybe not absolutely technically correct, but But you know what they're trying to suggest, that they can respond to threats at land, earth, and water, so to speak. Would that be correct?
No, no, no. These special forces are totally different, and we have the para or the special force headquarters. We've created headquarters there. They are the ones that immediately react for any strategic task. The Bhaira battalions are meant to react to tactical tasks in the near tactical area, the tactical battle area, and between 20, 30, max 30 to max 30 kilometers, and only meant as an initial reaction to any threat. Subsequently, the forces would have mobilized and would have come there and would take over the task from the Bhaira battalions. They're also meant to be, help out to react quickly. So it's just that middle middle situation before the infantry gets into the act, or before the main forces get in the act. You commit the Bhaira battalions, and like I said, you have troops, you have equipment, you have specialities that help the Bhaira battalion deal with situations.
My last question: why was it so critical to raise such a battalion? Some people have said that this was long awaited, and this really adds to the cutting edge of ground operations of the Indian Army. Your comments on that?
The reason why we created it was that there was a gap between what we felt was a time gap between what we felt is committing the main forces and committing our special forces. As you're aware, we have 10 special force battalions with us. They are also the paratroopers. And those special force units would be deployed in strategic areas. Maybe dropped by air, maybe moved by undersea, maybe to deal with, every unit has different specialities. The Bhaira battalion gives the corps headquarters an ability to react quickly. The fact that we created them means that there was a need for them. And yes, for that, this thing, there's a need to quickly act, and that gives the corps commander an ability to act immediately. But they are not meant to hold ground. They are meant for short, swift offensive action. And once they've done that, and they give that time leeway to the balance of the main forces to come and take over their operations.
Thank you very much, General.
They're meant to take advantage of fleeting situations, which otherwise may be missed out.
Thank you very much, General. Thanks. This is very, very interesting. Of course, I would urge everyone to read General Chauhan's wonderful depiction, which was the first part of this conversation, of what the Siliguri Corridor actually is. There is, we hear these phraseologies thrown around in the news by politicians, by malactors, so to speak, in India and outside, but very few people understand the real dimension of these things. And therefore, it's really important for everyone to read General Chauhan's very detailed and beautifully written exposition on what the Siliguri Corridor really is, and why it isn't as fragile as popular news imagination would make you believe. Thank you very much, General, for joining me in conversation today.
Thank you, Professor Sanghu, for reading it and for commenting on it and for calling me on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.